Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Indie Zone. My name is Kathy. We have some breaking news for you out of Moscow, Idaho. A ruling has been entered, in part, granting relief to Karen Laramie, Stacy Chapin, James Chapin, and Maisie Chapin, the plaintiffs in the matter styled as Laramie et al. Versus the City of Moscow. Judge Megan E. Marshall has entered an order, judgment granting in part a permanent injunction against the City of Moscow from releasing certain further images from their investigatory files into the Moscow Police Department's investigation of the catastrophic events that happened at 1122 King Road on November 13th, 2022 in Moscow, Idaho. This order, as we see, was filed October 1st, 2025 at 15:11 p.m. and it states as follows. The title is Judgment Granting, in part, Permanent Injunction. Judgment is entered as follows. For the reasons set forth in the memorandum decision, granting in part plaintiff's complaint for permanent injunction, the City of Moscow is permanently restrained from disclosing photographs or video without first blacking out any areas within those investigatory records that depict any portion of the students surrounding or the fluid you see there immediately surrounding them. Dated October 1st, 2025. This is signed by Megan E. Marshall, District Judge. That is page 1. Page 2 is the certificate of service. And this is signed by the Deputy Clerk of the Latah County Court. This is the District Court of the 2nd Judicial District of the state of Idaho in and for the County of Latah. And the Deputy Clerk certifies here, I certify that copies of the judgment granting in part permanent injunction were delivered to the following. And you see the names of those who received a copy of this judgment from the clerk. And this is on the first day of October 2025. You will recall that we previously reported to you back in August that it was at first Ms. Laramie, mother of Madison Mogan, who established this lawsuit and was then joined by Stacy, James, and Maisie Chapin to comprise the plaintiffs. They were seeking this permanent injunction to enjoin the City of Moscow from releasing images and video of information, details, documentation in the city's possession of a lot more than was granted here. So this is why I believe this is stated in part, not in whole. So it appears here that with the exception of the students themselves and the fluid just around them, that the City of Moscow will be able to continue doing what they've been doing which is releasing body cam footage of the first responders. But as for any images that anyone might request, for example, in a FOIA submitted to the city, anything having to do with request for the students themselves, the city of Moscow being enjoined, meaning that they are not to do this, will not be fulfilled. The comment that I would like to provide here is, it appears now that with this permanent injunction or restraining order, that any requests for images of the sheath, the K-bar sheath that the public learned about in the affidavit of probable cause for the first time dated December 29th, 2022, will not be fulfilled. Because if any images of that sheath show a part of the students or the fluids, then that would likely be considered a violation of this injunction. On a final note, Judge Marshall was the first judge presiding over Idaho versus Kohberger. She entered an appearance in the case when the case was originally filed in Moscow, Latah County, on December 29th, 2022. She issued, amongst other things, the order finding probable cause based on the affidavit of probable cause signed by Detective Brett Payne. She also issued the warrant for Mr. Kohberger's arrest. And during the time that she presided over the case until May of 2023, when the case was then referred to Judge John Judge upon the issuance of the grand jury indictment against Mr. Kohberger, Judge Marshall entered many of the orders that are on the docket for the year 2023 in Idaho versus Kohberger, that Judge Stephen J. Hippler will be likely getting to at some point further down in the future to consider whether those records, such as evidence, should be released to the public. None of them have been set aside as of yet. If you have any comments, any thoughts, any opinions regarding this matter, please leave them here. Until next time, this is Kathy. Thank you for joining us here today.